issue post-match on the latest game at Goodison Park, Everton's latest game of the Premier League season so far. It finished Everton 0, Newcastle 0, which sounds like the most boring game in the world, but it was very, very much the opposite of that. And loads to get through here. I've got one with me again. And I don't even know which way we're going to pick this apart, to be honest with you, mate, because you've got loads of stuff to talk about Anthony Gordon, loads of stuff to talk about penalties, loads of stuff to talk about with how good Jordan Pickford was, set up by Sean Dyche. But I think we'll start with that. The team that he put out there, as soon as I seen it, I was devastated that Irabunan wasn't starting again. I don't quite understand that. We had Decore. Am I right in saying it was the same lineup we had against Palace?
Yeah.
Apart from Ghana right back.
Yeah, it was the same, apart from Michalenko. And then, yeah.
Which initially saw it, and I thought that's probably a bog standard effort from him, really. Apart from, like I said, Irabunan, I think should be starting games now, and I'm not too sure why he hasn't. And the twice he's came on, he's looked to have, the midfielders seemed a lot stronger when he's done so. But my initial thoughts going into this, I know we touched upon it with Paul the other night, I felt that Everton going to be backs against the wall here, and it proved to be that way. I think we only had like a third of the ball all the game long, and sort of thing Sean Dyche is used to, sort of thing that's right in the standard thing that Sean Dyche has done as a manager, is not having as much possession in games. This is a dangerous side that you've got that we played, though, who do utilise the ball really effectively, and that's probably one of the things I've alluded to there and saying I can't believe it finished 0-0. I thought we were quite fortunate in general to get a draw there. That's not least because of the penalty that Anthony Gordon misses. I mean, he misses a sitter as well. There's a few times they had really good chances. Pickford was brilliant. I think they only ended up having 3 shots on target, but the amount of pressure they continue to put on us. I think we said that we agreed the other night that a point you'd take in this. And I very much feel that way now after the game's finished. I'm pretty happy with taking a draw there from Goodison. What do you think?
I'm absolutely coming away with the idea of that's a point gained. I looked at their midfield 3 at the start and I thought we're in trouble here. With Joe Linton, Guimaraes and Tonali in the middle. I thought that's a very effective midfield 3. Against our midfield 3 as well, I thought that we'll get overpowered here. And I thought we did. Listen, we can talk all we want, and we have done on shows about how the style of play could be better, how we could be, we're aiming for more possession-based football, how we could be doing this, how we could be doing that. All them things, yes, I agree. And I've gone on record as saying I think we could be taking more points out of games we've had. But I think we've come up against a very good side there. And I don't like saying that because, look, whatever way we look at it, Newcastle's a rival and we don't like losing to them. Newcastle's one of them teams we like to get 3 points over. But that's a very good Newcastle team we've come up against there. And where we've fallen in terms of quality in our side the last few years, I think they've improved and they've got some very good players. So to come away with a point there, I think that's a really good result at the end of it. I think that come the end of the season, when we look at games where we've gone, that's where we've had a point. That's where we've picked up points. That's what we've needed to do to get to the magic mark that we need to be safe. I think we'll look back at that and we'll go, it's a very good point gained. Whilst I don't think that they did anything particularly threatening other than the penalty, I don't remember, for instance, Pickford having to make an outstanding save. I agree with you in that they were on the front foot from the beginning. I think they had a lot of the ball. I think they were in a lot of dangerous positions. But I think if they had a shack tonight, I think they maybe go on and win that. The lack of a centre forward for them has maybe cost them. But do you know what? Credit to Everton. We stuck by that and we did what we could. And there was probably moments where we could have taken advantage and got a goal from somewhere. And we didn't have. I don't think we had one corner the whole game, did we? And so we couldn't make any pressure from that point of view. But we stuck at it. We ground out a point, and for all the games we've had previously where we've lost, and then we've come on shows like this, the post matches, and we've gone, there's no effort, there's no fight, there's no grit, there's no determination. I thought the lack of quality was evident. Everton didn't have any quality tonight, but what they did have was all of those words I've just mentioned. They fought till the very end, and I'm quite pleased with what we've got there tonight. And I would have taken a point before the game, and listened to come out, Dave, with a clean sheet and a fighting performance like that. I'm quite pleased with that tonight. I am, and I think that's a point gain, certainly.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you're right. What you picked up there is about that discipline the side had. It's something, again, that would be at the top of a Sean Dyche list, is the discipline of the players and the way in which they set things up. I thought when Newcastle were always going to have more possession than us, I thought the writing's on the wall. Yeah, it's only a matter of time before they get a goal. There were a few times when they throw the ball across the 6-yard box, and we've managed it. We had some times where it was like really, really difficult to think Newcastle aren't going to score here at some point, because they get through on goal, and then I'm pretty certain Eddie Howe, their squad and all their fans are going back up to the northeast absolutely devastated they don't go and beat Everton there. And that's not to say that they were amazing at doing what they did and just missed the final part. Just been watching Eddie Howe's interview there, and he said he was perfectly happy with the performance. They just missed what they didn't do in the final third. We're the opposite, really, I think, because we're just blunt upfield, aren't we? Let's be honest. It felt a lot of the time that Calvert-Lewin was isolated. There's a few players I need to pick out there who I don't think had, to put it mildly, their best games for us. And I thought McNeil was anonymous throughout most of that game. I think that's more to do with how they put their block in and around him. Very, very difficult for us to get the ball to him on the floor. And I think that's why we tended to go route one from Pickford and from Tarkowski. I think he's a big issue to discuss himself in general today, because
we need to talk about that later. We definitely need to talk about that.
And yeah, it just seems to be like they must have seen us again. And I keep on saying this about sides that come to Goodison in particular. Pretty simple to go up with your game plan against Everton, and I think that starts us on the back foot of so many games that we see right now, because I think it's predictable in how we played. This one was slightly different. I thought we started to try and play the ball through midfield. Look, I outball all the time, and it's going to be forever that he's going to be the player there is towards Ndai. Get the ball to him. You turn him you don't even have to turn him onto the front foot, do you? Because he'll do something magic to turn his man. And he was constantly doing that, a constant threat. And what I like to think about him in the near future for us is he'll draw several players towards him because he's that good and he takes that many players on, which should open up gaps for us in the middle. I thought that was there in big parts of this game. And there, when you're looking at Everton, can go forward, create a chance and hopefully score a goal. Those in and around, I mean, we spoke a lot, haven't we, about the midfield area that, it's been crucial to why we haven't done things, which, came to fruition against Crystal Palace, that we ended up doing something decent with it. And again, I go back to Irabuna. I don't want to bang on about that, him starting the game there, but Mangala, I think the jury's still out for me on him. I think he shows flashes of being a really disciplined midfield player. Other times I look at him, particularly Leicester away, sticks in my mind when he started thinking he was Zinedine Zidane in the last 5 minutes and refused to just lay a ball off, and he's trying to beat everyone. I think that remains to be seen how good he is for us. Also, Idrissa Gueye comes on, and I felt like it was a totally different match for us, because I thought, apart from his ridiculous miss, I thought he was really good when he came on for us at that point. So, I'm starting to think Dyche is like, does he actually experiment these things, or is he just thinking, I'll go with what I know, and if they come on towards the end of a game, maybe it goes better, maybe it doesn't. It feels to me like he has a little bit of a loose connection with that. But going back to the structure of the game and how it went on to play, the penalty that Tarkowski gives away, I was outraged by that, absolutely outraged by that. A player of his experience, of how he should do something on a ball into the box. Wasn't the best ball that was punted in either. It wasn't even near him. I think if you rewatch the screenshots of where he gives away the penalty, the ball's not even in the shot. And for Tondali, who's got there, he pulls down on the floor. Carragher there on the commentary is like, what on earth is he doing? What's in his mind to even do that? And look, we know you see so many things in games on set pieces where everybody, all the players in such a short space are ragging each other around and all that. It's generally a 50-50 thing that you would never make a decision on. But for him to do that on such a crucial stage of, well, any stage of a game like that, such a crucial match that we've got at Goodison, where we've spoke about needing to take our points more so than we do away from home. I mean, aside from Pickford going on to save it, and it was brilliant because we all celebrated it like a goal, let's be honest. That from Tarkowski, I immediately want him dragged off. I was like, throw O'Brien on or something like that. That was disgraceful for him to go and do that. And it's a bit late in his career to say, I hope he learns his lesson, but I have no idea what's in his head to pull someone down in the shirt so obviously. And I thought it was interesting what Carragher was saying on the commentary. He said the reason why it's so bad for him is not only the fact that he's done it and made it so blatantly obvious, but the reason why they're checking this and it hasn't just been given immediately as a penalty is because the ball's nowhere near them. So they're thinking, does it even matter? Because it's not like he's doing it last second to stop someone having a shot or a head towards goal. He's just done it regardless. And I can't, every time I've seen it again like 7-8 times, I'm thinking, what is behind his mind there? And again, it's something that's meant to be the thing that we're really good at, is getting rid of set pieces, getting rid of balls put into our box. I don't even think it was a set piece, was it? It was laid off for someone to whip it in.
It comes from a corner, didn't it? But there was a couple of phases of play before the ball went in the box, but it did come from a corner.
Yeah, and at the time, when I felt like the writing was on the wall there with Gordon taking it. But how did you feel when you saw that? Because that's as angry as I've been about Everton, and it's not like we haven't got plenty of examples to talk about that, is there?
Well, listen, I to promote one of our other shows that Les does brilliantly, the old borrowed blue show that Les does. I went on that and I said that Pickford was my favourite current player, and I said I was close to picking Tarkowski because he's been brilliant for the last 2 years we've had him. He's been a leader, he's been solid, he's dependable, he's consistent, he's very rarely injured. But I tweeted after that penalty was given, he's been a disgrace this season. And that was probably, that's a very harsh word to use, disgrace, about a player. Because someone who's been as good as he has, not player of the year or not, anything outstanding, but in the situation that Everton have been in the last few years, he's been very reliable. And I reflected on it when I was on my way back, and obviously, getting on to speak to you. And I thought, have I been too harsh there? And that was over an hour ago now. I've tweeted that, and I don't feel like I have been harsh because I look at that decision, and it's a correct decision. I wasn't at the game tonight, but I was standing next to a Geordie who was watching it, and he summed it up brilliantly. He said, if that was the other way around, you'd be screaming for that. And I said, you know what? I have to agree with you there, mate. I can't disagree. I don't know what is going through his head. I don't know if it's a bit of a I'm the big man here and I'm going to prove a point. But you've got to be clever about it, and he hasn't been clever whatsoever. And to the bigger point about him, I think he's been very poor this season. You can make all the excuses, and excuses have been made about he hasn't had Branthwaite next to him, so it's been a bit chaotic in that Everton back four. Listen, if you're a good central defender, it doesn't matter. You calm things down and you make things simple. Can you imagine if Michael Keane had done that tonight?
The real interesting thing you say about that is, I think the reason why this sort of thing we're talking about in regards to what he's gone and done tonight, and he has been poor so far this season, is because he's got that fella next to him there, because it's so easy for all of us to sit there.
And that excuse, Dave, is waving thin with me. Yeah, that's wearing thin about who's his central partner. Yeah. That's wearing thin with me, because he should be.
It's so short-sighted that, we look, if Michael Keane makes a mistake, even the slightest of mistakes, even things where he misses a pass, straight away everyone's on the back of him. And look, you can see the reasons why, because look, he's been in the club 8 years now as well, which is quite remarkable. And look, the reason why he gets so much shit from people is in a way that's, you can see why. Basically, you can see why he's become that sort of scapegoat.
Yeah,
For
totally.
what we saw today, he didn't have any fault in that yet. Like you rightly say there, and the Geordie fan you were alongside there, you get to a point where you're screaming about that, about something that your defender's done wrong as well. If that was him, mate, people would still be there, like in front of his car, slagging him off. Do you know what I mean? If that
he'd be vilified. Keane would be.
Oh, absolutely, mate. And I thought
Keane would be vilified. And listen,
yeah, I was going to say
we're going to talk about it because I thought
he didn't do too badly for me.
I thought Keane was one of our probably top 3 or 4 players tonight, and we're going to talk about that later. But going back to no, not at all. But going back to Tarkowski, Dave, this is a 31, 32-year-old player now who's a seasoned Premier League player who was talked about as one of the better centre halves in the league last year. Never mind for Everton, in terms of across the league.
Captain as well.
You know, the captain. The year that England went to the World Cup in Qatar and Conor Coady was selected, and all the stats proved that James Tarkowski was a better centre half that season than Conor Coady. So listen, this isn't a dig at someone who I think's receding or who's getting worse. I do think there's still a very good centre half and a very dependable centre half there who will do well for Everton for the rest of the season and possibly in the next season or 2 onwards. But I am so frustrated with his decision-making lately. For someone who should be a lot better, who's proven in the past that they are a lot better than what they are. That was an absolutely brain-dead thing to do today, to give away that penalty. And that could have cost us massively. Now, as it's turned out, it's been one of the highlights of the season because we've got one of the most, probably, it's not exaggerated to say one of the most hated returning players in Anthony Gordon, who's missed the penalty, which is great in itself. But not only that, you've got Jordan Pickford in goal, who is hated by Newcastle. So for him to say, I mean, if you're Pickford tonight, you're over the moon because you've just gone off saved the penalty against Newcastle. Like, what, as a Sunderland lad, what else do you want in your career?
Yeah,
you know what I know? And that'll be one of his highlights. So it turned out well, but Dave, it's not going to keep turning out well. If he keeps making mistakes like that, and I'm talking about Tarkowski here, if he keeps making mistakes like that, it's going to be costly towards Everton. And the excuse of he's playing next to Michael Keane, so he's not quite, you know, it's causing chaos at the back. It wears thin with me. And I'll tell you why it wears thin is because Michael Keane was very good tonight. I don't want to over sort of exaggerate his performance, but if you're talking about out of 10 tonight, he was a 7 or an 8, Michael Keane tonight. I thought he was very solid, very dependable. And for all the stick he gets, I thought he was very good tonight. The trouble that we've got, and I don't know if you agree, I don't think Garner was brilliant as well tonight. And Ashley Young again, that's his 3rd game in a row now where he's not put a foot wrong. But it's killing us not having fullbacks. It's killing us not having fullbacks, natural playing right back and left back. And that's why when you come up, that's why I think it's such a good point tonight, because Newcastle could have easily exploited that. They could have exploited that with the players they've got, and they didn't. They didn't do it effectively enough, and they didn't do it well enough. And that's why I'm of the belief it's such a good point. But we've got to get. I'm hoping in January, Dave. I really am. I'm hoping we replace or we add some depth to that position, because we can't go the season playing James Garner, who's a ball-playing midfielder at right back. We can't go the season with playing 40-year-old Ashley Young at left back, as well as they both played tonight. That's not going to get you over the line. So we need to address that situation quickly. But that's why, again, I think it's such a good point tonight. Yeah, Tarkowski aside, I think that the back four did well tonight. I really do. And you know what? Even saying that, I thought as the game went on, Tarkowski didn't do a lot wrong. But we've got away with that one tonight. We won't keep getting away with that as the season goes on.
No, you're absolutely right. We won't. And yeah, that's why I said on my Twitter there, I think we're really fortunate to come away with a point. Interesting you mentioned the fullback area, because what's just come to my mind, and you're talking about James Garner, who was my man of the match. I thought he was absolutely fantastic, because as soon as they'll have seen him playing right back, they'll have targeted that lad, and they did. They had Joe Linton going over there, they had Gordon going over there, all of their decent attacking players. At one point or another were over there, and I thought he was absolutely brilliant. The point you've made about having a proper fullback area there on each side of the pitch is the fact that James Garner, and you'll have noticed this, barely, I don't even think he might have gone over the halfway line because he was playing right back. That's because it's not his position. You compare that to a Seamus Coleman, who obviously our legendary right back. If he's got the ball, he'll play 1-2 and bomb it down and try and get to the byline. When you've got a fullback who's not a natural one, they're going to be quite cautious about how they move forward when Everton have got the ball, because if they don't, like I said, everybody's going to move towards him, and they did. Look, there were a couple of occasions where they got to the byline with us and putting the crosses across, and on another time someone will slot it in. I think there's one that Pickford just about gets his hand to there, which stops Gordon being in front of the goal a couple of yards out. We ran our luck a little bit there, but he was fantastic. I thought Ashley Young was really, really good as well. Completely content with him. Again, a player that won't receive praise like a Keane. So I always feel to hold back a little bit and this is because they've been so criticised throughout their careers. I feel like we have to hold ourselves back a little bit when you say they've had a good game, if you get what I mean. Because if you go around the opposite, like we said about the penalty that's given away, if it's Keane, we're going up over the top here, mate. Do you know what I mean? We're trying to follow him and find out where his house is. But with it being Tarkowski, it's like, well, he doesn't get a free pass, but it's because we've just mentioned it. He's been poor this season, but it's like, gets nowhere near slagged off anywhere near what Michael Keane would have done. And I do think there's an issue there. And look, many people will just say, as soon as Branthwaite's back, it's fixed. It's not, because he can't do it on his own. He can't do it on his own. And I understand that people will say that people in and around them will become better players because they've got someone who's better than them to be able to play alongside in the simple way that you would in any football on the planet. And yeah, three of that back four I thought were absolutely fine there, and good credit to themselves there. I thought they were fine, and keeping them out from scoring a goal as well. We only had 3 shots on target. I think I was looking at the stats. Keeping them only having that amount of shots on goal as well brings us to talking about a deep line midfield. And when Adjusagay came on, I felt more comfortable despite the fact it was the time when the game opened up as much as well. And again, credit to a player, but I mean, we have to move on to the key decisions here, Warren, because first of all, the penalty we go and win, because we touched upon Pickford, and Pickford will be delighted, like you said. That the penalty that we didn't get. I mean, I've had so many arguments over this. To me, and I'm almost certain, I'm waiting for people to try and reply to me on this, but I'm pretty sure there was a very similar situation with Dan Burn. It might well have been in where this exact thing happened, where the penalty wasn't given. Now, I don't think it was a penalty, and I'm look, we know each other quite well. I'm sort of thinking you're going to say something different to me, but it remains to be seen. I don't think it was a pen, because I understand that Calvert-Lewin's about to get a shot away, but that defender's come, and by the last possible milliseconds, just about gets his foot in front of Calvert-Lewin so he can't get a shot away. But Calvert-Lewin, in turn, trying to shoot, kicks him. Opposite way round, it's a blatantly obvious penalty. And look, there's a lot that goes along with it as well, because it was portionate to the referee and VAR and all that sort of thing that people want, immediately changed, and there's issues with it. But look, at the end of the day, the thing that got me is a bit twofold for me, because as soon as it wasn't given a penalty, as soon as that continues, Adjusagay's got 7 yards out and blasts it over. I said there on my Twitter, not even trying to be funny about it, I don't want him to have a shot for Everton ever again, because that should have been banged in anyway by him. But on the penalty, what did you think? The lack of penalty, sorry.
Dave, I love the bones of you, mate, but you're wrong. that is a penalty
Explain to
all
me why.
day long.
Explain to me why.
I'll tell you why, right? We will see, and I'm not even exaggerating here. And if I've got my blue tinted specs on and if I'm being biased, then people will tweet us and tell me, right? There'll be in the hundreds, in the three figures, there'll be hundreds of similar fouls given this season outside the box, or there'll be a similar penalty given for what was not given tonight. Totally agree. Idrissa Gueye has to score. That's an abysmal miss by Idrissa Gueye. He has to score, and if he scores that, we're not even having this conversation right now. But Dan Burn has been clumsy in a goal-scoring situation. And listen, Calvert-Lewin should do better for me as well. And this is an issue with him, which, again, is a topic for another day, because he's not a good enough finisher. He's been great for Everton, but not a good enough finisher. The shot goes in, the rebounds. Everyone's going for it. If you're clumsy enough as a central defender in the penalty area to leave your feet and be out of control, which in my opinion, Dan Burn was, that is a penalty all day long. And like I referred to earlier when we were talking about the penalty that was given against us, I stood next to this Geordie fella and I said, hold my hands up. If that was the other way around, I'd be screaming for a penalty. This fella turned to me and he said, that should be a penalty to Everton. And I think that said it all. And I like supporters who can listen. We're all biased, of course we are, and we've all got opinions, and we all think our clubs should deserve this and that. And listen, there'll be penalties later on in the year which we won't get, and I'll say it's a penalty, and we'll all say it's a penalty, but 95% of the country will disagree with us. That, for me, I cannot believe it has not been given. Dan Burn has connected with Calvert-Lewin, and I think if that is on the halfway line, and we'll see it in the hundreds the rest of this season, if that is on the halfway line, that is given as a free kick, potentially a booking as well. He's nowhere near the ball, Dan Burn. I respect the fact that he's probably trying to make a goal-scoring tackle, or he's trying to block. I get all that, because that's what I want a defender to do if it was an Everton defender. But he's nowhere near the ball. The ball is in front of Calvert-Lewin's left foot. Dan Burn is behind his right foot when he makes that tackle. I am staggered that it wasn't even reviewed. I am staggered that Craig Pawson wasn't even sent to the screen. I don't think we deserved the win tonight. I think a draw was probably the best we could have got. But you have games every season where you don't deserve to win, but you might nick one. And that tonight, for me, we should have had a penalty. We could have gone 1-0 up there and we could have held out to the end. And I am flabbergasted that wasn't given. I still can't believe that no one in Stockley Park has watched that and thought, that's got to be a penalty. And listen, there's so many of these decisions over the year. I don't want to go into the realms of, well, it's Everton if we were a bigger club, or if we were, one of the top four or whatever that had been given. I don't want to get into that, down that road. But like I said, Dave, I just think if that is on the halfway line, or that is in our half, and Anthony Gordon does that. Do you know what? Saying that, I'll back myself up. I'll give you evidence. There was a free kick given against Anthony Gordon. I think it was on James Garner. It was right in our corner. And there was also the Tarkowski one with Joe Linton. Not Joe Linton. It was a Joe Linton or Guimaraes in the corner. And he's just shoved them very slightly. But Tarkowski's gone sliding on his knees. And the referee straight away blows up. Free kick. And he's even motioned Craig Pawson that there's a push being given. There was less contact in that free kick than there was in the one in the box that Dan Burn went on Calvert-Lewin. And that, for me, is evidence enough of why it should have been a penalty. I cannot believe that wasn't given. And if that was, and listen, if that was against us, I would have been like I was with the Newcastle penalty. I would have said, that's at least worth a look. They've got away with one. We've got away with one with the penalty save. It probably evens itself out. But at the same time, Dave, it gnaws on you. It gnaws on me that we weren't given that, because we could have maybe got the 3 points at the end of it. And it's just frustrating for me.
Do you know why I've got a right smile is in terms of how completely different we are and how we perceive this? Because when you speak of the context of it in terms of Calvert-Lewin's going to get a shot away, I don't think that is included in the whole passive play in that regard. The reason why is both of those players are entitled to go for the ball there. And when I've looked at it so many times, because a lot of people are saying to me, if you just look before Calvert-Lewin tries to get his shot off and tries to put his foot down onto the floor, there's the slightest of touches from Dan Burn. Now, I haven't seen that. I don't think there has been. If that's the case, then I probably turn to saying, yeah, it should have been a Stonewall penalty for us. The reason why, taking away the context, and it's difficult to, it really is, because as soon as I mentioned that we're going to talk about this part of it, I mentioned that he's done it before this season and it wasn't given as a penalty. I need to go and have a look at this because I'm pretty certain I'm right in saying that the exact same thing happened elsewhere. I don't know as a defender whether he's not entitled to put his foot in front of Calvert-Lewin. That ball they're both entitled to go for that ball. Dan Burn doesn't get his foot in front of Calvert-Lewin by fouling him, does he? I think when people are calling it like yourself as a foul, it should be a penalty, is because Calvert-Lewin hits into him. He doesn't hit into Calvert-Lewin. And that's why I can understand why it's not given. And look, I'll get absolutely slated for this, but when I saw it in the replay, and obviously when it starts taking so long, you start thinking, yeah, they're never going to give it the longer it takes. But I just felt that I understand, and I think, again, and I hate to refer to him because he's obviously a red, but Carragher was saying, and Jags as well, I don't know if you heard his comments after it, and Izzy Christensen as well, they were saying, it's one of those, if you're a defender and you get the penalty against you, you are outraged. The fact that we didn't get it, we're sitting here saying the same thing too. But for a couple of Blues to say, you can sort of see why it's given. I didn't feel justified in what I said, but I was thinking, like, that's the perceptive. That's what I had. You talk about having your blue glasses on and all that. Even leaving them on, I'm like, I feel like I understand why it wasn't given, but at the same time, like you say, we've seen worse penalties. And look, where I take your point in hand here, and where I do agree with you, is that perfect example you gave of Tarkowski sort of going shoulder to shoulder with Joe Linton, and he just steps in front of him, and the ref, it's not a push or anything like that, is it? I mean, let's be honest, that wouldn't be given, like you rightly say, as a foul in a penalty area. But because it's there, because of where it is, it's really easy for them to give that decision. And that inconsistency you get from referees, again, that's a chat for another time. And we've spoken about that a lot of times, VAR stuff and all that. It's the inconsistencies, the thing that drives you crazy. But yeah, I think it's interesting. We see this in two different ways. And you know what? If people are watching this on YouTube, I'd implore you to go and look at it. The outrage that looks like is on Warden's face right now.
No, but listen, like, the thing is, Dave, like, what you're saying there is probably what they're saying in Stockley Park as well. And I can completely, I don't agree with it, but I can understand where that side of it's coming from.
You can see why.
Do you know what? I'm contradicting myself in a way, because I can't see why the penalty's not given, but I can see the conversation being had, which is what you're saying there. And that's why, again, it becomes so frustrating. And I gave you the example, I gave you the evidence of a free kick given, which was nowhere near as bad. For me, though, I just keep going back to the fact that Dan Burn is not in control. He's not made a dangerous tackle. Don't get me wrong. He's not made a tackle to be worthy of a sending off or anything like that. But he's not in control. He's not put his foot in front of the ball. He's gone essentially from to the side of a attacking player after a rebounded shot.
But would you not say the same of Calvert-Lewin? because he's like, his body's not in a shape where he's got 2 feet on the ground ready to
No,
swing.
listen, Calvert-Lewin has to do really well to score there, but at the same time, he's in possession of the ball, and his momentum and his being able to keep possession of the ball is taken away from him by that tangle of legs. I think it was on his left foot, by the fact that he's taken down on his left foot. And like, I mean, look, I just can't get away from it.
The question I want to ask you, and I'm struggling to word the way in which I want to ask you it, is firstly, what's Dan Burn meant to do, right? And then secondly, I think the context of what we've spoken about is not as relevant as what we are literally with the issue itself when it comes to that, seeing a few seconds of when it happens. But when I don't know what he's meant to do that doesn't create contact with Calvert-Lewin is probably the best way of putting it. If you're a defender there and you're desperate to get your foot to the ball before someone else gets a shot in, look, me saying that as well, again, contradicting myself, he's tried to do that, which doesn't take away the fact that it should be a penalty in any other time that it's happened. But there's no contact with him, with Calvert-Lewin, before he's put his foot in front of Dom there. So therefore, Calvert-Lewin is strike towards the ball, is hitting Dan Burn. To me, it was like that sort of thing where you stub your leg on the floor, you stub your toe on the floor. It felt like that to me. The Calvert-Lewin's swinging his leg to hit the ball. The thing that where your point comes from is Dan Burn gets his foot in front of Calvert-Lewin, but no one wins the ball. He's nowhere near getting the ball. I can see why that is on its own is like, well, he's knocked one of our players over, or our players knocked himself over. In my opinion, he got knocked over by a lad who had his foot on the floor. That's the sort of angle I'm looking at it from. And look, our listeners are going to see. I mean, I'll get hammered for this, obviously, because it's against the sort of the blue opinion. Not that I'm saying that yours is biased or anything, but
what you're doing now? What you're doing now is you're. I don't think you're disagreeing with me necessarily. You're going from the point of view of this is what the referee is and everyone's talking about, and I can understand, and I can see. Listen, this is how I'll finish up on it. Do you know when everyone who, like my age, my generation, we used to always play ISS Pro on the PlayStation or FIFA and whatever. Do you know when a shot goes in and you're the defending team, you just hammer circle on the joypad, you're hammering it. And that for me was Dan Burn tonight. And listen, I agree with you. What in a way, what's Dan Burn supposed to do? Because if that was the other way around and none of our defenders put a tackle in, I'd be the first on a post-match here with you now saying, why isn't Tarkowski putting a tackle in? Why isn't Michael Keane putting a tackle in? Listen, if I'm a Newcastle fan, I'm made up he's put his body on the line to stop a goal. I'm not disputing that. The thing I'm disputing is he's not got in a situation where he's making a goal-saving tackle. He's not even making a tackle because the ball isn't in play. What's gone against us tonight is the fact that the way Calvert-Lewin's shaped, he's almost running away from goal. So it looks like he can't get a shot back at goal. I think if the ball's in front of him and he's ready to tap it in and Dan Burn makes the exact same tackle, it's a penalty because the referee will look at it and go, well, he would have scored the tap in. I think the fact the ball's gone slightly backwards and Calvert-Lewin's had to adjust his body position to get into it, I think that goes against us. So, listen, like I said, I disagree with you, Dave, and I don't want everyone coming, listening to this and hammering you because I know what you're looking at it from the point of view of the referee, the people who are looking at the video evidence and going, is there enough there to overchange? Because this is what they go by now as well, isn't it? Is there enough there to overchange the on-field decision? And they've probably, if Paulson had give the penalty and then they'd have said, have a look at it, I think we get that. But the fact that the on-field decision was not a penalty has gone against us. So, listen, I think we'll all come away from that and we'll go, it should have been a pen. I think there's a lot of Newcastle fans, if they're sensible, will look at that and go, do you know what, if it was the other way around, I probably would have wanted a penalty as well. It hasn't been given. It's one against us, in my opinion. But to go back to the overall point of the game tonight, like I said, I think it's a very good point gained against a decent Newcastle side. So we can talk all about it all we want. It's not going to change the results. It's not going to change the decision. What we can talk about is how well we grounded out that point tonight, how well a shift everyone put in. I think, like I said, even Tarkowski, as fuming as I was with him, I think he grew into the game and he did a lot better. And I don't know about you, Dave, I can't name a player on that pitch tonight who can criticise. I think everyone put in a shift, and that's the minimum you'd ask for. And if we've got a manager who plays a certain style, we've got certain players who can only fit into a certain system, and we're never going to be a possession-based side with the players we've got. I think we've come away from that with a decent point, and it's just listen, 3 games unbeaten now as well. If we can go 4, 5, 6 games unbeaten, that's what you want in this league. If you can do that in this league, you're going to be fine. And like I said, I think overall, I view it as a point gained anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is. A couple of players there. I know we've spoken heavily there about Tarkowski. I think he started getting a real issue here, Dice, with the persistence with Decore. I've generally started to grow an issue with him because I'm not entirely sure what the purpose of he's on the pitch for at times. The thing that sticks in my mind, obviously, when he missed that one-on-one against Palace at the weekend there, last weekend. And the other thing is, like, I just don't see, when I see us in the shape that we've got, I'm like, what's he being asked? Where's he being asked to play? Where's he being asked where his initial role starts when the opposition have got the ball? Is he meant to drop deep? There were times when I've seen him do that. There were times when he's chased back. Other times I've seen him just stay up there and try and get as close as he can to Calvert-Lewin. Look, I'm not going as far as saying, look, I think he shouldn't be starting for Everton, because I think it's quite clear that part of what he's playing isn't his natural game. And I think you can see that with a lot of our players when they come on. You can see what they've been asked to do by Dice rather than what they've naturally done as the player that they are themselves. I think I think Decore's got, for that horrible saying, again, credit in the bank to say that he's a really important Everton player, because he is. But I see that there's something else we can probably do there. And look, it's looked effective when he's gone and put McNeil playing centrally. I think that was a really good idea. But again, I think tonight he stunk the place out as well. What got me tonight as well, where I think the positives come in from, where it's a gained point, which I completely agree with. I felt that there were players that we had there, maybe 2 or 3 at least, who I could say, if they were playing better to what we know they can do, Everton probably go and win that game. Decore is one of them. Obviously, Tarkowski's the other. Well, maybe he's not because we didn't concede. And him, and then Mangala, I don't quite know what the main goal is from him as well. I think Dyche is going to have an issue with this, to choose what he wants to see with these lads in a particular role. If you were picking an Everton team, you go back to, say, when you were playing FIFA, you put your team out there and you put, I guess what he's saying to Decore is, I want you to play a little bit deeper here. He should be doing so, particularly against a side we mentioned there that has a 3-man midfield there of 3 pretty good quality players. The likes of Joe Linton, Tonali, who's back in for them, and Guimaraes as well. They're 3 big Premier League players there that Everton certainly struggle to go up against them with a 2 against 3. But is Decore the type of player you want to drop back and become the 3rd that we have against theirs? Not for me. And it goes back to the point I was making. I have no idea why he's not starting Irabunum on the bench. That said, I mean, to finish up there, because we've been going on more than half of this has been talking about that penalty. Excuse me, but a point gained. Stay where we are in the table. 4 points from 2 games. Given the woeful start of the season, I guess that we're all pretty content with that going into an international break. Add to that the fact of the fixtures that we've got coming up. Thames fate, but that looks like a decent set of games we've got where we can take plenty of points from. Plenty of them away from home as well, which, again, I presume will probably help Sean Dyche in the way in which he sets us up and the way in which he likes us to play. Feel as if he's uncomfortable as a manager at Goodison Park, but today there were plenty of reason to say that was a lot of that was more what we wanted to see from Everton in coming up against a big side, where we're going to have to spend the majority of the game without the ball. But we'll leave it there, mate, because we banged on about this here. It's cracking on tonight because the game kicked off at 5:30. Things change, obviously, when we're going forward. We'll have all the shows as usual, but obviously not the post-match next week with the international.
Well, hang on. Just before you finish up the show, I've got to get this in because it's the first time in 9 years that my Kansas City Royals have made the playoffs. They're against the New York Yankees tonight. Those of you on YouTube, I'm wearing the shirt. Look, the boys are playing some ball. So I'll be up late watching that tonight, and I'm hoping they go on and do it. So I've got to get that in, because if I don't get it in, I've failed. So anyway, I'll let you wrap it up now, Dave. Go on, tell everyone what shows we've got coming up.
That shirt to fit as an Everton one as well, though. That'd be sound. So if you turned up,
hey, they're playing blue and white. They're playing blue and white. It's a bit. Listen, they're playing the Yankees. Like I said, it's a bit like Everton playing Man City. The only difference is the Royals have got a couple of good players that Everton haven't, so we've got a chance. Yeah. But yeah, I'm staying up late to watch it, so I've got to get that in before we finish off.
Well, not going too much on the tangent, because Matt loves the NFL. You love these American sports here. I haven't got a clue about whatsoever. I did say when I was messaging earlier, look, you're gonna have to show me about this, because it looks amazing. Yeah. But anyway, we are going off on a tangent there. We won't finish like that. But me.
Sorry, that's my fault. Yeah, that's me.
I know how much you want to be a broadcaster, various things. Maybe that's the one for the Blue Rooms to do a baseball podcast.
Maybe American sports podcast. Yeah.
That's it, mate. Yeah, Rob will love all that, won't he? Give us a reaction if you want to see something like that there, where we're not sat here debating a penalty for about half an hour that we didn't get. But yeah, we're back all the way through the week. It's all the same as well. Obviously, just without the post-match, it comes back the following weekend. Mailbag of Beard as well. Monday show, subs weekly, the free weekly, everything's in all the time. As you know, we're here 24/7 if you want to get in touch. As usual, there's the email, there's Twitter, there's now Instagram. I think Les has sorted out TikTok, which I can't stand. There's all that sort of thing if you want to get in touch with us anyway. But thanks for listening. Point game for the Blues, we think. Let us know what you think. Up the Toffees, and we'll speak to you again soon.